Deep breath.
Set.
Action. Cut.
It seems to be an homage to the original.
Ripping it off. I don't know if we did it as well. Black Christmas. There was a pay channel in San Diego called Channel 100. And when my family moved from Syracuse, San Diego in '75, I saw it on that. Again and again and again. Well, it's producer, but it's a guest here that I want to welcome. It's the reason we're all here. This is Bob Clark. He directed the original Black Christmas.
Feeling fabulous.
Oh.
I'll tell you guys, everything about it just feels fabulous.
Black Christmas is a psychological horror film. It's set in a small college town at a sorority where girls are celebrating the last day before they go for their Christmas holiday, and they're not aware of it, but there's a stalker amongst them and is making monstrous phone calls within this very large house.
That must be Kyle. What do I do?
Answer it.
What was said to us was you either made porno films or horror films. That was your choice. And I wasn't interested in making porno films, so that's how we came to the point where we shot Black Christmas in 1974. It did very well in Canada. It never really caught on in the States, but it began very quickly to become kind of an underground film.
It was one of those films that kind of went out of circulation, wasn't available for years and years. Many people had seen Black Christmas, but people didn't know what it was that they'd seen. They couldn't remember the title of it. It had been Silent Night, Evil Night. It had been A Stranger in the House. And then you've got the confusion over When a Stranger Calls and its remake as well. So people always remember that tale of the killer in the sorority house or the house making phone calls, but I don't think people really associated it with Black Christmas, so to speak.
There were real characters in jeopardy. There were social issues involved. You had a movie that had very little gore. The next step to that is Halloween, which is still a pretty great movie, but when you go back and look at Black Christmas, you go, oh my God.
That was one of the innovations that the original Black Christmas had. They had this thing for the cameraman to strap the camera onto his body, and so he could climb, you know, with his hands, and you see his hand framed, which was something they hadn't done before.
The handheld, wide-angle stuff, the way the girls are, the way the scenes kind of develop with the murder, how much Black Christmas, the original, influenced Halloween.
A lot of people, when you tell them that Black Christmas was made 4 years before Halloween, they're kind of taken aback. And I think now it's starting to get the credit that it deserves. And obviously with the remake going on, it brings even more to public attention, you know. Whenever anybody tackles a cult classic, the fans of the original are always going to scream and cry on the internet and say, why, you can't touch a classic. And that's not what's being done. It seems to me like a whole brand new film is being created. If fans of the original don't want to see it, they can keep the 1974 original intact. But whatever happens, at the end of this year, 2 films are going to exist, and I guess people are just going to have to deal with it.
I'm an internet nerd, so I read everything that's out there that people say on the message boards, and the diehard horror fans, you know, they assume it's going to be PG-13 and all this stuff, but it's R, it's frightening, it takes it to a different place. I almost don't even think of it as a remake. I feel like it's just sort of based on the original.
It's different with a movie like this because we're talking about a cult movie that wasn't as mainstream as some of these other remakes like Amityville and Texas Chainsaw. This is something that the select few have seen. You know, I think that this will stand on its own.
Glenn really loved this movie and told me how much he loved it and wanted to do this. And they haven't
said, hey, why don't we just copy every single thing that Bob Clark did and every single thing the writers did and just spit it out again. They took it to another level where they said, let's make it our own, but respect the fact that it was a great movie to begin with and write a new script, and that's what they've done. And I think the fanatic fans out there will be okay with it because Bob Clark's attached.
So you see the Bob Clark lamp? Paying him respect. It was in my office for a while, and I really enjoyed coming to work and turning on the light.
I know Glenn and Jim are great, but the rest of the world may not know how great they are, so it makes me feel like, you know, people will be much more accepting.
He's been really supportive. I think he is aware that I have respect for what he did, and in turn, he has respect for what different things that I want to do.
I pretty much stayed out of it. You don't need the old hand weaving with the new hand, and my confidence in Glenn and James is very, very high.
Okay.
I talked with a little bit about some of the ideas as he was writing the screenplay, and his basic idea of going back and unthreading Billy and Agnes and what that's all about and bringing it forward through the story, I thought was brilliant, because it's still Black Christmas, but it's exploring more rather than simply repeating.
Why are you bothering putting with those cookies? Santa ain't coming to see you.
Remember, she just said that, like, Santa Claus is not going to bring you anything. You got to give it a super mean look. Give it all. That's the worst thing anyone's ever said to you.
Santa Claus is dead.
The New Art in Los Angeles had a midnight screening, and Bob spoke, said, well, something happened. Billy had abused the baby. I was sort of surprised that he didn't have a more definitive origin. Billy! You know, I wanted to deal with some of the family thematics or elements, and Edmund Kemper was a serial killer whose mother locked him in the basement because she was afraid that he was going to attack and rape her. And now he had these feelings of guilt for feelings that he didn't really have, but then he had them, and so he had hate and arousal and everything just mixed together down in the basement. So they just kind of cooked a serial killer. Ultimately, he attacked his mother and ripped out her larynx or something and put her head on a mantle and threw darts at it for 3 days. Believe it or not, that's where the Billy thing started.
I'm Robert Mann, and I play Billy the psychopath. There are some flashbacks right from the start. Billy's mom isn't too fond of the jaundiced Billy, and he's treated rather badly. Billy's made to live in the attic, and it's just a time bomb.
Do you want a Christmas cookie? You're my cookie, and I could gobble you up.
Billy? Often a lot of anger is really sadness.
Is that Santa's reindeer?
But opening up that Pandora's box of deep sadness, it's often easier to switch to anger and, unfortunately, to let hatred boil.
Okay, fight, struggle, harder, more, struggle, go, camera. And look. Go! Go!
Billy! Where's Agnes?
I don't intend to reveal it, but I had a history for Billy. I created that as I created the phone calls. So what went over the phone, as outrageous as it sounds, all makes sense.
I think someone's in trouble.
What your mother and I must know is where is Agnes?
The fact that the calls are coming from inside the house really isn't the twist. You know, it had to be taken to a different level because everybody knows that the killer's within the house. It's an idea that people are familiar with by now, and it's not this big shock like it was when it first came out.
I'm gonna kill you.
Call the police. There's a lot more twists to come after that, so you don't have to worry about, oh, that's it, they gave that away, and you know, now the rest of it is boring.
So then we'll give you a cue. You guys can come to the table, except for Crystal, who stays there. So, Andrew, you're here. Michelle, you get kind of right in behind her. You know, the phone, you can look at the phone, but what's coming out of there is so creepy that you're not focusing on.
Good. Alpha Kappa. We had just been having the script supervisor read the lines, you know, it's Billy, and, you know, and this kind of a normal voice.
Where is Agnes? She's our family now.
Shouldn't you get going? Don't you have lots of toys to deliver to good little boys and girls?
Well, we're doing our close-ups, and Glenn didn't tell us that he was going to read it, and the first time he read it, I was so startled.
Billy, what have you done? What your mother and I must know is, what did you do with the baby?
It was kind of freaky because the way he did it, he was like, making all these weird noises. And it was definitely kind of shocking, which is good. You know, we all kind of had a little reaction to it, but it helped us a lot. Thank you, Glenn.
You're my family now.
I think someone's in trouble.
This is our production coordinator.
You're my family now.
That sounds bad.
You're my family now.
She lost her voice and we made her come in and do the voiceover for Billy.
Billy! Billy!
I phoned Glenn Morgan at his hotel and left the message, "You're my family now," in my hideous, sick voice, at both his hotel and his cell phone, and I simply hung up. I didn't identify myself at all.
You're my family now.
I think just after this, she threw up.
Billy, what have you done, Demi?
Your mother sucks in hell.
You know, there's 3 known actresses from the original.
Cut. We went from Rosemary's Baby into The Exorcist. And back.
I think Margot Kidder's pretty great, but my brother and I would just not go out on weekends to watch SCTV and just to be able to work with Andrea Martin. She's terrific.
Door kicks, you get in. Self-explanatory.
Well, that's some good direction. All right, let's go.
About a week into the production, Glenn very shyly said that he was a fan of SCTV, but he didn't tell me that initially.
I've gone and done jobs with idols and people that you go, it'll be a dream come true, and it was just a freaking nightmare. So for Andrea to be so professional and wonderful and supportive, you know, on a movie that was 35 years ago, that's not the highlight of her career,
Well, that's the spirit.
to be just so great was just wonderful.
Mrs. Mack is the house sorority mother. No, I'd say there was no channeling from the original person. In fact, I haven't seen Black Christmas for about 30 years, so I wish my memory was more accurate than it is, because I can't really remember what she did in the movie, other than I think she hid liquor, but that's not the direction I chose.
Any of the girls needing to be consoled by the adults?
You know, times have changed, and the girls are much more sophisticated. So I think a house mother has to be pretty on top of her game.
So no hair makeup, fine? It's okay.
This is scene 37, which is the first scene that we see all sorority girls in the house. It's the first time we see the inside of the house establish 5 of the different characters.
Okay. Merry Christmas. Bye. This was definitely my first time working with a bunch of my peers at the same time. I've done movies, you know, with 1 or 2 girls, but to have, I think it's 7, 8.
It's sort of been like a sorority on set. We've had a really fun time. There hasn't been any bitch fighting or anything yet. No.
Why don't you just look outside?
Let's see. I mean, should I go home and go to some fabulous Christmas party?
Glenn and Jim wanted actresses that were all sort of the same caliber, so that you wouldn't really know, oh, this person is the name, this person's a star, that means they're going to live till the end, that means they're going to, you know, survive. So I thought that was an interesting way of doing it, that it's not going to be like a bunch of actors who've never done anything getting killed off, and then the one girl who we all know lives in the end.
Haley Mark.
I play Heather Fitzgerald. She's sort of the southern debutante of the sorority house. She's a bit of a prude, a little snobby, and a little uptight.
You shouldn't provoke someone like that.
What would you know about dealing with anyone other than a NASCAR daddy? Heather, who's played by Mary, is like my polar opposite. But we're actually roommates.
Yeah, we found that odd since basically in every scene we're at odds with each other. But I guess we sort of came up with the idea that maybe that's why we can't stand each other, is because we don't get along and we can't stand being roommates and we just want to, you know, cut each other's throats. So I guess that could be the reason behind it.
At least my family wants me to come home.
Ouch. Yeah, I like that. Don't mess with Mary. I like that. Don't mess with Mary.
Where people ended up in the house was based primarily on the way that Glenn needed the blocking to work. When I design, I have a tendency to read the script, talk to the director, and plan my sets based on that. I went to the original film because I know it had inspired Glenn, and I knew that there was a specific atmosphere created. I wanted to see what it was like. The original house was in Toronto, although in reality, it's a very warm family home. Its first impression is pretty ominous. If you look at both films, you'll find that visually there are certainly some parallel structures. The thing that I am most satisfied with is the separation between the Lenz house, the original family home, and the sorority house. The approach that we took was that here were two characters who lived in a house who didn't really belong there, that somehow they'd inherited it from Granny and just let it slide downhill. If we could make a house where you didn't want to touch anything, we pretty much had it. Our second incarnation of the house was the local universities taking it over and turned it into a sorority house for comfortable young ladies. We had the sorority house underneath all of the wallpaper and paint in the Lenz house and stripped some wall covering off and got automotive buffers and polished the place up to bring it up to the sorority house. There's very strong similarities physically, but they're totally different environments.
Haley Mark.
I play Dana. I'm a little bit of a spoiled princess. You know, I'm very rich and I have everything I want, and I think quite a bit of myself.
What? I'm not the totally helpless daddy's girl these bitches make me out to be.
Okay, then go outside and turn the power on.
Are you high?
So the scene where I'm going underneath the house to reset the breaker, the trapdoor slams behind me. Well, it slammed a little too soon and it got my ankle and it hurt so bad, but I was so embarrassed. And it was my first day. I flew back to LA and went straight to the emergency room.
This is gonna be my new look. Yeah, with the crutch.
I'm explaining to the doctor and they're like, did you mean for the door to slam on your leg? I'm like, this is not a self-inflicted injury. I'm filming a movie.
Try again. Cut.
I said, wait a second. I know this is crazy, but is there any way this is Black Christmas? And my daughter's Katie Cassidy. So it turned out it was her stepfather that was the ER doctor that saw me that night.
That's good.
After the lights go out, everything is below key, which means it's underexposed. And even the brightest thing in the frame is underexposed, and then everything else falls off from there. And anytime you're working at those levels, you have to be very, very careful because there's always a point at which if you go over the edge, you have nothing. It makes for much more painstaking work. We don't have room to get a light in the room, so we're going to put it out here, and when we turn around, we'll just hang the picture back over the hole. Perfect, look at that. You know, usually production designers get pissed off at you if you pull a saw out, but this is the first time I've ever had to do it before, so I don't think he's going to get too annoyed.
I remember the first day he brought dailies back. There was a little bit of apprehension about how he felt about them. And I looked at them, Glenn looked at them, Jim looked at them. We all thought it was fantastic.
I'm trying to make it feel as much like just a house, your house, my house, that the lights have gone out in as I can. And how they look in that will depend on where they land in a particular light at which time. Sometimes they look fabulous and sometimes not so great. But most of the time when it's not so great, it's also good for the story too, because everybody's having their pants scared off them.
When I read the script, I was actually alone in my house, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I started reading, and I'm like, no, I'll be fine. It's probably not that scary. Black Christmas. I mean, it's a holiday movie. And then all of a sudden, like, my toilet started making weird noises, and my TV started, like, going haywire. So it freaked me out.
And once more from the top.
Since my Buffy days, I wanted to sort of stay away from the horror movie genre, but I'd spoken to Glenn, and he just had a really, really cool vision, and I felt that he had the heart and soul to make it a really cool, freaky movie, not just about, like, raw, gory death.
Let's do one more right away.
Sometimes it would rain and the fake snow would turn into like this nasty glue in our hair and on our clothes, and I have to fall in the snow. I thought it was all fake snow. So I was like, oh, it won't be cold. And I fall like face forward. Middle of the scene, I finally realized that it's freezing cold and it's definitely not fake snow. But I think in the end, you have to be willing to do that to make a good movie. You know, it has to be real. Some of it's gonna be, you know, a little bit painful, but when you do something like that and then whoever it might be comes up and is like, that was so good, you know, that's when it really pays off and you're like, yes, you know, you feel really good about it. I play the role of Kelly Presley, who is the freshman in the sorority. She basically is treated like everyone's, you know, little sister. They boss her around, make her do things because she's the newcomer.
I'll be your family now.
Aw, you want me to treat you like I do my sister? Get the phone.
But yet Kelly is still a strong character.
Okay, Kelly, go upstairs, please.
Action.
I play Kyle, the boyfriend of Kelly.
Merry Christmas.
I have previously dated one of the other sisters in the house, and I have caused some kind of a commotion. You might think I'm involved, you might think I'm not.
Billy? Billy Lynn's the guy that used to live in this house? Well, then you're definitely getting punked. Because he's dead.
Claire?
Glenn wants it to feel like we're being watched all the time and to get into some really extreme angles. I think it's a very interesting way of looking at it if you've got a justification for it. This way we can always leave a little question in the viewer's mind. Is this my POV, the audience's POV, or who's looking at this?
You know, we're on camera 38 times a day on average without knowing it. We'll cut to an angle that you associate with that camera that's monitoring your behavior in a store or a bank. At home, I really felt like we're all being watched, and there was a kind of a paranoid feel going on. The original had the whole abortion through line. I try to replace those themes with that issue.
What if there's something on her computer? Like an email or something that says where she is?
Oh, whoa. You know what? This isn't cool. I don't feel comfortable, whatever, like invading someone's privacy like this. Try calling the police again.
What was that?
My direction here is to mimic the movement of branches with the falling of the snow, giving it a gentle swaying action. And of course we have coniferous trees that hold the snowflakes nicely, giving it that nice Christmassy look. And then we have the deciduous leafless branches that represent the coming evil. So we've juxtaposed gentle snow with the evil branches. It's all evil in the end. Everyone dies.
Have yourself a very Merry Christmas. Have yourself a very Merry Christmas.
From action, you're there.
I'm just working the cigarette down. It's for Glenn. That's why I'm having this.
Get the scissors and cut it. You don't have to.
We've got
That's smoothie, man.
I play Lauren Hannon, and she drinks really heavily. I mean, I chase back tequila with a glass of wine. That's how much I drink. But she's kind of got that edge to her. She's been around. She knows what's going on. And, you know, she drinks now because it's the Christmas holidays. And most times on Christmas is when people get most depressed, which is so weird, you know, because you think Christmas is happy, but it's only happy for the select few that have great families. For the people like my character, I don't have a great family, so it just reminds me how much I don't have a great family and how crappy it is and that nobody really wants me to come home or is waiting. So she's pretty smart-ass and sarcastic. What in this room resembles anything Christian, huh? It's all neo-pagan magic. Christmas tree, a magical rite ensuring the return of the crops. The mistletoe is nothing but a conception charm. 5th century Christians jacked a Roman winter festival. 12 days in December where the nights were long and the earth was roamed by the demons of chaos.
You know, Christmas in general, there's a creepiness to it. The whole reason that, you know, Mary and Joseph were running to Bethlehem was to escape the slaughter of thousands of children. So just its origin is kind of frightening. Then you got Saint Nick.
How'd you get in here?
The door was open.
Just the whole idea of this guy that you allow into your house in the middle of the night and then not through the door. I mean, when I was a kid, that was just kind of bothered me. American Christmas is basically Washington Irving and Coca-Cola.
Blood.
If Santa has a red suit because Coca-Cola is red, you just start breaking it all down and you realize what nonsense the whole thing is. But I like getting presents.
You, Santa Claus. I play Lee, and she's the sister of Claire, who lives in the sorority. Claire's trying to bridge the time between them and has said, you know, basically pick me up for Christmas vacation. Lee probably lives a much faster paced, intense life than Claire does. I think she expects to come to the sorority and find Claire, you know, waiting for her. And then she gets there and she can't find her. And that sort of starts Lee's character in the movie, you know. Where is Claire?
Claire's name is Crosby. This says Colvin.
The divorce will be final in March. What else do you need? Look, I can't tell you anything about this place because I really hated it here. I never was in a sorority. The clique thing never appealed to me. I think I was always afraid of that kind of thing. I see Billy still gets a Christmas present. But I certainly do understand the desire to create a family, especially for those people who feel that the family that they have is somehow not intact in their mind. Even though it's in the course of an evening, I think that it's a pivotal evening for her because for everybody in the movie, it's about creating and finding family.
Action!
Until I see that they're dead, they are alive. This is Billy Lenz we're talking about here. He's probably listening to us right now.
Yeah, and if I had a sister, I would expect her to go up there.
How would you know you don't have a sister? She does.
At home, they're so upset about gays marrying and family values and what is a family.
Just scream from there.
And so your idea is better than someone else's idea. It lies somewhere in that.
So that when that eye opens, it's like, I'm gonna show my love to her by eating her. Action.
Billy is this little boy who sees his mother kill his father, and now he comes to think, well, is that how you show your love? And then she locked him in the attic and took away any emotion.
Cut.
And, you know, it's a horror movie and all that stuff, but there are people who go through some pretty desperate acts.
All right, this is picture ready?
Family is what you make it. Is that wrong?
Fight, go.
In this
Hard,
movie,
hard.
it is wrong. They're murdering people. They have a up idea about what it is. But I don't know if I have a definitive family theme.
Merry Christmas, everyone. You're all, like, my family now.
Like, oh, we must have a family, or maybe about how you can't get away from them even if you want to.
There's a real sense of foreboding and mystery that he's creating.
Take the flashlight.
You got the house, you got Christmas time, you got the Christmas music.
He's opening the door and goes, wow.
Take that generic song that you hear every Christmas and it makes you happy, and now it's the last song you want to hear at Christmas after seeing this movie.
You know, it's a classic haunted house story. It's the things that go bump in the night and when you're alone in the house and you hear funny sounds and what's making the clothes rustle in the closet.
It's creepy and disturbing, every scene, every shot. The camera angle is alluding to something happening when really it's something else.
Action!
And it's different. From what I've seen, it's very artsy, just the way everybody's portrayed, and to see it all come together. I think it'll be pretty damn good.
Billy! Everyone should be home for Christmas.
Christmas come round, lifting the sound, all ringing loud, bells fill the town, frost in the air, snow everywhere, Yuletide is here, come sing the cheer. La 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 la, 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 la la la. Have yourself a very Merry Christmas, have yourself a very Merry Christmas.
Action.
Eat it.
Is this a slasher film?
Well, I would hope not. You know me, I don't want to be pretentious about it. And if nobody goes to this, you know, I thought I had themes in Willard and no one goes and you just feel embarrassed and stupid. I think a slasher movie is really a modern monster movie. But the difference between the Val Lewton movies compared to I Was a Teenage Werewolf was just exploitation.
I think someone's in trouble.
You know, I wanted real characters and to deal with some of the family thematics or elements.
Call the police.
Hang on. Lower the glass, lower your glass.
And I like the horror movies where I think it might happen or it's a situation I know.
Call the police.
Oh, please, the police ain't gonna do shit about one whack job phone call.
So I'm trying to shoot for something a little more. I don't know if I'll achieve it, but that's why I don't think it is.
Can we help you?
You know, making movies, so much of it involves a hype that Glenn is not comfortable with. I'm Claire's sister. Where is she? When the publicity guy comes after him and tries to get him to do an interview. He doesn't want to do it because he doesn't want to be made to say great things about himself. That's Glenn's personality.
Don't speak.
And I think that makes him an interesting focus.
Tell me a little bit about after Willard, if you can share your state of mind.
It was not good. Hey, you want to sell tickets to this, right? No, I was depressed for like 3 months. I was really fucked up. I was really bummed.
Yeah. Okay, ready? And action.
Go, go, go! What are you doing? What is that thing?
Sure, it would have been a lot easier if Willard was a big hit. Everything's easier with a hit, you know. But I'm proud of that movie. It was quiet and it's creepy, but it wasn't scary in a sense that, you know, the audience is not going to jump out of their chair. There wasn't that visceral reaction to things that happened on screen.
Well, there's just too much blood. I'm all for blood, but when there's too much, it just looks not real, so.
You have to do it right by the standards of the masses to a certain degree, that you've got to get it right for them. And sometimes that's not as interesting. But I think that he wants people to come to his movies. I think he wants the shot to be able to do it again. And in order to do that, you have to make money. That's just the way the business is.
It's a little bit dubious anyways.
How do you mean by dubious?
Just that it's hard to imagine this ice thing coming through the back of her cranium. But maybe she has a little soft spot that she didn't know before. And this could be like an injury she sustained, you know, like 1962, playing field hockey. Ball hit her right in the head right there. She didn't, you know, had a headache for a while, but didn't take care of it. So when the icicle actually went through the eye, hits that weak spot in her skull, right through. Field hockey, 62, Mrs. Mack.
In this movie, I tried to have more Jack in the Box type scares, which I fucking hate. But the audience wants them.
Glenn, will you be that loud with the chair, or will you be quiet inside?
I need to. I was told Willard didn't have enough. Ooh. Giving the people what they want, Julie.
This is the don't go in the attic scene.
And why did these Rick and Morty movies?
Shut up.
Could
Can
be
you ask
scary.
Siegfried and Roy how they make a tiger disappear?
Things like gore and Jack in the Box scares don't appeal to Glenn. As a film fan, he doesn't enjoy watching that. He finds that to be kind of too on the nose.
Try to hold that door open a little longer. The idea, hopefully, is to try and come up like this.
Black Christmas, the original, influenced Halloween. But then Halloween makes a lot of money, so the Hollywood guys go, boy, if we had more blood spilled, we'd make even more money. And then it just becomes watered down. So you got Raiders of the Lost Ark, but wow, if they had more action, we'd have more, you know, and, you know, you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's got a lot of character stuff. There's a lot of good characters, a lot of good people running through it, but then it just becomes grosser and stupid action for the sake of action. It's just crap.
Move up.
Sometimes just to get a movie out is a bigger thing, and certain themes fall away at the end. But because of the theme of family and saving your family, and your family is who you make it, I think that this theme is so permeated within each beat of the movie pretty well enough so that hopefully it won't get washed away.
Paramedics saved his sister, Agnes, but she lost her right eye. Parents dead, brother a fucking psycho. They sent her away to an orphanage. Like, what chance did she ever have that a foster family would take her?
It wasn't a brother-sister thing when I first wrote it. That came about on later drafts. It was just Billy. And then I think Kristen said Billy should be Agnes.
Man, you know, no one can look me in the eye anymore. They just want to look at my breasts.
It was kind of psycho-ish that Agnes had taken on Billy's identity. And then I don't remember when you start plotting that out, it becomes a bunch of headaches. It was just impossible for that one character to do all this stuff. And I'm like, well, okay, then there's Billy and Agnes. These slasher or horror movies always have one guy. What if it be both of them? And then that fell into the family theme, and it just seemed like the right thing to do.
Oh, killer cameraman, it's in the eyes.
I think we started clowning around about Dean playing the killer. And that was probably when it was just Billy. And then when Agnes came in, you go, well, yeah, that remains interesting.
Everyone should be home for Christmas.
And then when I went back and looked at the script, at the description, I'm like, this has got to be Dean.
I saw them making a Star Wars when I was a wee lad, and I remember the camera assistant on the screen was carrying, the camera in the desert, and boom, it was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a filmmaker. I've been a focus puller or first assistant camera person for 12 years. And what a focus puller does essentially is you're the operator's assistant.
This is a hard thing. We're trying to get your eye through the tree just right and stuff, okay?
The major job is keeping the actors, of course, in focus. It can be a high-stress position.
Dean, you're not quite there. You're deeper. There you go, right there. Do it again.
There's a bit of pressure involved.
Now, don't forget, look very angry.
It seems that other departments can make mistakes here and there, and it's not a big deal. They can be easily recovered.
Okay, cut.
Now, slate.
But when you're a focus puller, you're on the spot all the time.
Markers.
No one cares if everything's going great. And then if things go wrong, and then all of a sudden the spotlight gets turned on you.
More camera, please.
Action.
It's such a thankless job, too. You beat your guts out, and it's like this super hard shot, and everybody goes, hey, good shot, Mike. Nice work, Tim. Meanwhile, I just lost 4 years of my life on that shot.
It's too mechanical. No matter what movie you're on, it's still the same job. As opposed to being an operator where every film you're framing something different, or if you're a DP, you're lighting it differently for the mood of the story.
He's got to be low angle, red light, silhouette, yeah, looking up.
We're gonna let Dean hammer me. That's what we're gonna do.
Hammer into the camera?
Straight into the camera. That's right.
Yeah?
He's got all the motivation he needs.
I've had enough. My career as a focus puller it's near its end.
See what we get. Use the violence.
Use it.
I guess I've been doing it for too long, because I needed a change in my life.
Okay, let's go. Action.
Go, Mike. All right, cut. You know he did good when he goes. Yeah, let's take a look at that.
I heard about Black Christmas last year, and at that time I didn't really know anything about it. It was like, oh, cool, Glenn's doing another movie. And then information started getting back to me that I would possibly be playing the part of Billy.
Unicorn up, plunge it.
At first I didn't think it was gonna happen, because I just didn't understand why. Why do you want me? Is it because of this? I'm not an actor, so I don't have any acting talent that has been out there before, so it's obviously about this.
I think he's been thrilled from... I think it's one of those things, like when you're joking about it, there was probably a part in his head going, oh, I wish he was telling the truth, or I wish this wasn't a joke. Interesting thing about casting Dean, no one ever said no. And I would go, hey, I got a camera operator up there. He's perfect. They said, oh, great. No one ever questioned it. And then, of course, once you meet him, they really didn't question it.
Dean was initially always going to be Billy. And then Glenn called me one day and he said, so, I just want to throw something by you, but I don't want you to panic. He says, what do you think if we cast Dean as Agnes?
It's a female, and it's the killer. So I jumped at it. It was such an opportunity.
So this is Agnes at her
pretty point.
At her pretty STS. He shaves before he leaves home, and then when he gets in the makeup chair, after his prosthetics, we shave him again.
We had face stretchers, eyelashes, and the breasts, all the female things.
Cookie jar, booby stuff, these are things that we use for Dean playing Agnes. It's enhancement things. Just little... I think we're using a lot of them, so the boxes are empty. When he looked at himself in the mirror, seeing himself be a little more feminine, just from a posture point of view, he really sort of thought, oh yeah, this is her. He was totally into it.
Oh, yeah.
It was all kind of challenging, all the physical acting, my first line. I'm a guy with a deep voice, so to play a girl, for weeks I was thinking, what voice am I gonna use? And I was at home practicing voices.
Everyone should be home for Christmas.
They all sounded retarded. They sounded like forced acting almost. And after thinking about it, I realized that little Agnes had a deep, husky voice.
Is that Santa's reindeer?
Mum had a husky voice.
There's nothing up there.
So I kind of tried to blend the two of them together.
Swap. And one more, sinister.
Everyone should be home for Christmas.
Agnes was essentially given a lobotomy at an early age. She's still 8 years old, and the only thing she knows of love is murder.
Bless you.
That was one of the dead people sneezed.
Well, the corners of my eyes are now on fire from the prosthetics, so I've taken to collecting the tears at the corner of my eyes with these handy-dandy Q-tips. Now, many people have threatened to stab me in the eye, which is an interesting concept. Yeah, it's good fun. And Glenn's taking pictures. Ready? After Buffy, I'd really wanted to stay away from the horror genre. I wanted to kind of branch out and see what else was out there. And I thought that the only way that I'll do a horror movie is if I get to die. Kelly? Kelly!
Go.
Cut.
It was a lot of fun. I really was laughing every time, like the bag goes over my head. I don't know, I just had so much fun. I mean, not that I have a death wish or anything, but it's just something you don't really get to do every day. I just wanted to do that, I'm sorry.
Flip it over, then let her go. Let her do a lot of that. You can just kind of guide that.
Okay.
Because you're getting it too tight and it's just going like a taut thing. We get no facial.
So when that goes over your head, my impulse may be to scream, but
I'm not going to put any pressure on the start, like,
Right.
I'll bag you,
And then pressure.
Yeah.
Right.
Action.
Kelly!
Pull.
Oh, Jesus.
There's something really
Fucking scary about that.
He's a really sweet guy, and he's so not, like, violent. After every take, he was like, "Are you okay? Did I hurt you?" I'm like, "No, it's fine. Pull it tight." I was actually telling him, I was like, no, like, suffocate me more, and pulling back. I have some cool little black and blue battle scars from the banister, but they're shields of honor.
okay, cut.
Oh, God. Yeah. So I totally died in the horror movie. It's very exciting.
You know, most actors want the opportunity to do things that they don't get to do, and so I thought she did a great job.
Thanks for killing me.
And I assume with Lacey, she was, Party of Five, then she did Mean Girls, and Lacey's just so sweet, and she never gets the opportunity to.
It was really fun to do that. It was fun to be dirty and screaming and crying. We shot the scene on a set that was about maybe 3 feet high, and the whole crew is like huddled down. Everybody's on their knees underneath this porch. The killer's straddling me on my back.
Kurt Cowett, Lady Killer.
And then he jams this rubber rake into the back of my head.
Kurt, at some point, Glenn's gonna yell out dead and then just kind of crawl off, make it look cool.
I have to say that I didn't really know what I was going to do until we were actually in the scene, because I didn't have any frame of reference, clearly. I mean, what happens in those kind of moments?
Action.
All of a sudden, I just felt this sense of panic. It just came out, and that was whatever came out.
Dig. More. Dig, okay, grab it. Grab it. Okay, cut.
I was just a mess.
The one where you looked up and you actually had dirt between the teeth?
Yeah, I got all this dirt in my eyes, in my teeth, and then I'm crying in the scene, and whenever I cry, my nose starts running, so all of a sudden I have mud coming out of my nose. It was so glamorous.
But sexy.
Should be our action star.
I had never done a horror film before, and I always thought, well, when you're about to be killed, is that actually kind of scary, having someone chase after you?
The thing goes in the back of their head. There's no blood spray or anything like that.
It really wasn't, because it's so technical, They were like, okay, right before he jams the rake into your head, you need to make sure your eyes catch the light.
Just go this way a bit. There you go.
So you're thinking about those things, and in the meantime, you're screaming and acting terrified.
1, 2, go!
Being around actors, you get to know how things are needed to be done in order to get the shot, because it is about the shot.
Reach out, grab it.
That was so rushed.
Start like that.
When I walked onto set, I wiped everybody out of my head, because that was worrying me for a while. I mean, I'm surrounded by people that I've worked with for a really long time.
It's kind of an odd thing for a focus puller to really want to do, but can't stop them.
And at the same time, the privilege of being on the set with Robert McLaughlin, a DP who I have heaps of respect for, an honor.
I actually saw Dean on the street and remembered him before I ever even knew he was a camera assistant. Dean always turned heads. It was quite a vision with his long blonde wavy hair and little dog, whatever kind of dog that is. That was during a period when I'd been working out of town a lot, and I came back and hooked up with my longtime operator, Mike Wrench, and there he was working with this guy that I'd seen walking down Granville Street. I think they were working on Dark Angel at the time, where the whole crew referred to them as the Freak Brothers.
I don't normally ask actors this, but do you think you could go focus on this shot? Remote control, you can stand there, do the eye line.
You know, Mike's got this sort of twisted worldview and looks at the world a little bit off-kiltered. He was more interested in pushing the envelope from a framing standpoint, and he's also easily bored, so he's always looking for some new angle and a new approach.
Even electronics, you can't deal with that.
And having done the second unit on both FD1, FD3, and Willard with Glenn and Jem, they also knew where his sensibilities lied. That Mike, with his energy and his creativity, would be able to bring something unique visually for this movie.
I met the camera crew on Millennium, and we've sort of all worked together ever since.
We wanted to see the end of the spear.
So a little bit more like that.
Action!
The theme of family is not just on the screen, it's also behind the screen, it's behind the movie. This whole crew are people that we've worked with over and over again. Glenn and I call them our film family, you know, when they're not around to see us.
Wedgemaster.
We're still talking about Rob and his wife Robin, who we're close to, and they met on Willard, and Jack and his wife met on Final Destination, and they've picked up family on the way doing films with us, and it's always an honor and a pleasure to work with them.
Action. You have this sense of intimacy with crews because you're together for so long, and it's under stressful situations, and everybody helps each other, hopefully. I think on Final Destination 3, everybody was brought together after the Willard experience, and history repeated itself in terms of being a great experience. So when everybody came back to do Black Christmas, there was sort of that sense of family, that sense of community right away.
It's actually one of the few times in history of cinema that we use a man's leg for a beautiful woman's leg.
Hard work. Greg, we need a leg double for Crystal. And I had the color of legs. And I have nice legs. For a woman.
He does, and he didn't have to shave, so that was a big plus. Okay, how's that? Good. Okay, cut. I'm thrilled to be part of history like that. I'd like to thank everyone for being here, for being part of it. Thank you.
I was in a survey van with Jim and Glenn, and Glenn turned to me one day and he said, you know, all we really want to do is have a career in this business without being mean to anybody. And I thought, never heard that from a director before. It turns out he was telling the truth.
Everybody, Crystal's under some heavy-duty makeup. I don't know if she can see. Be aware of that for her.
There is a comfort with this set, and by comfort I mean that in all positive terms.
Glenn Morgan just promised, he swore, there wasn't a Bible around, but he swore, and his wife is a witness, that in the next movie, it's gonna be a comedy, and I get to wear a big ball gown, and I get to be pretty, and there's gonna be hot guys. And this doesn't have to happen to me anymore.
Gowns, comedies, hot guys, but it's about a girl who's lost her eyes.
It's pretty disgusting. It's kind of actually making me lose my appetite.
You know, on set, it's not constantly taking everything seriously. You don't have to worry about messing up. You know, they're not going to yell at you or, you know, get upset.
So make that a...
Make it a sharp turn, yeah.
Glenn's very understated. You know, they'll come to you and talk about a scene, and it can be in 5 words, and you know what you're supposed to do.
So you're pissed off about it.
Okay. And I like that. I like just being able to kind of run with it without being told 10 paragraphs about how to do the scene.
When I run, I have really long arms and they kind of go everywhere. So he would come up to me and do his... I do such a good imitation of you when you are trying to direct me. Like,
that'd be great. EY as well, please.
arms. It's all just one word.
But you know what I'm talking about.
I know. Just the...
2 minds is one, baby.
That's right.
You know, it's a low-budget feature, so everybody contributed 150% of their efforts into the movie, and they did that, you know, for their own pride in what they do, but they did it for Glenn.
Action!
He just brings that out in everybody. Oh, at least he did for me. I can't speak for everybody else, but I think I can for the camera department anyway.
We've got it.
Still good on your end?
Yeah.
Very good. Glenn, what I love about working with him is that he has a very, very clear idea of how he wants to shoot it, which is great. And I'm here to help him facilitate that and add to it any way that I can. But at the end of the day, visually, dramatically, in terms of how the stories are put on film, it's very much Glenn's movie.
Camera? Billy! Where's Agnes?
We did the beginning with Mom and Dad and Mom's boyfriend and young Billy right from the first 4 days. And what blew me away was Glenn's storyboards. They weren't brilliantly drawn by an artist, they were drawn by him, but 95% of his storyboards is what we shot. So I started this project where I started pulling frames out of dailies that corresponded to his storyboards, and I was just, look at this, it's the same, it was his vision. He knew his story before we even rolled the camera. And I made him the book only for the appreciation of taking a chance on me to play the part of Agnes. I don't know what my performance was like. We'll have to see once it's cut together. But I do know this movie has recharged my interest in continuing to be a filmmaker.
When Glenn wrote the script for Black Christmas, he told me he wrote a part for me in it. You know, I'm a mom of 2 small kids, and so I really haven't been working as an actor. But if it was so that Glenn and I could work together as director and actor, it was something that we have always wanted to do. And I think that we both felt like you just never know if you're ever going to work again in this capacity, that the possibility may not always be there.
You know, if you go into that with anybody that you're close with, that you feel you should hit it off, whether it's working together on a movie or going on a date or playing on a sports team or something, often you're surprised that it doesn't work and that it can create such tension that friendship is ruined. And I had that in my head, like, oh, what if this doesn't work out, we don't get along? Haven't had that. She's constantly challenging, asking questions about what's going on in the scene.
On the set.
She's been a leader and great support to the younger actresses, I think especially Katie, who hasn't done physical stuff in action.
We have to break that hole. It was cool. I got to break down a wall and jump through it.
I'm gonna hit here, here, so she has a place to tear. And then 3, 4, so I have a place to tear.
You know, your adrenaline just works itself up from screaming and banging and screaming and banging, and I had bruises on my hands from banging so hard. But it definitely pays off when you watch the work at the end and you're happy with it.
That was great.
It's not like you're proud of yourself, but some days you have days where you can't get there. And some days I feel like I'm doing the best I can do.
That looks awesome, man.
This keeps coming up over and over again, but I think that there is that thing of family, that you're not just losing some people. The response is moving to the characters in the movie, that it's not just people dying and people screaming and then you're on to the next scene. I mean, it's hard to say now whether they work out or not. I think is always like, you know, you hope in the best case scenario that what you're trying to do translates on screen. And watching you interview Glenn last night, it's like you talk about all these ideas and then, you know, for whatever reason, by the time the movie comes out, a million different things have happened to it. It's been tested and, you know, whatever. But I think that those are the ideas that we're going for.
That is a show wrap on Katie here. Woo! Thank you so very much, Katie. And that is a wrap on us, on the crew. Thank you very much.
Every time I leave here, I don't know if I'm coming back. I mean, I'll never get to do this again and not get to work with all these wonderful people and come back to this pretty great city.
Why do you worry about that?
How did this interview start off? This movie makes no money. I'm on film jail death row. I'm Ted Bundy.